It would not be right to have a crime channel that focuses mainly on Dutch crime and not cover this man. He is definitely one of the most notable figures of his time and had Amsterdam in a chokehold for years on end. He was deemed to be ruthless, unpredictable, and certainly unforgiving. For the right amount of money, he would take anyone's life. However, along the way, he made many enemies, and before he knew it, his past caught up to him. This is the story of Redouan Boutaka, one of Amsterdam's most feared hitmen. Redouan Boutaka, also known as Takka, was born in Morocco in 1981. He moved to the Netherlands with his family, where he would settle in the east of Amsterdam. Together with his friends, Redouan started committing robberies. He committed all sorts of robberies, but had a love for robbing banks, as this would make him and his friends the most money. If they weren't doing any criminal activities, the group would hang out on the Krugerplein. After a bank robbery in 2004 in the city of Breda, local police started an investigation into the suspects. This led them to identifying 8 from Amsterdam who were part of a larger group that committed crimes throughout the Netherlands, but they needed more evidence to build a strong case against them. During many of their robberies, the members of the group often used the same type of sledgehammer. After the job was done, most of the time they left the sledgehammer behind before fleeing the scene. This detail was noticed by the police, which led them to investigate where these sledgehammers came from and who bought them, in the hopes of finding important information. Not much later, it was determined that the hammers were bought in a hardware store called Praxis, located in the Moluckenstraat in the east of Amsterdam. As the investigators were piecing everything together with the Praxis gang, Redouan came out as their prime suspect. However, they did not need to do any more investigation into Redouan because on the 9th of June 2006, he was caught red-handed. Together with his associate Mohammed, Redouan drove a car against the window of an ABN AMRO bank, located in a small town called Sliedrecht. It was early in the morning and the employees of the bank were just getting ready for the day. Redouan and Mohammed threatened the employees to cooperate, or they would get seriously hurt. They managed to steal 109,000 euros stuffed in cash cassettes. Redouan and Mohammed jumped on an Aprilia scooter they had parked near the bank and fled the scene. The loot was handed over to a third associate in a black Seat Leon, who drove off back to Amsterdam. Redouan and Mohammed drove off on the moped to a Dodge Ram they had stolen 2 weeks prior. Unfortunately for them, the man with the cash cassettes was apprehended shortly after. Redouan, together with Mohammed, were quickly followed by police. They were demanded to stop and get out of the Dodge. Instead of cooperating, they hit the gas and attempted to flee. A long police chase ensued. It was not until they were in Rotterdam that police managed to arrest the 2 men. If you are from the Netherlands, you might already know this, but driving from Sliedrecht to Rotterdam is approximately a 20 to 30 minute drive, quite long if you want to catch a robber. After police were finally able to arrest them, Redouan and Mohammed both explained that they were just driving and smoking weed in the car. They panicked when they saw the police car approaching them with its sirens on. If they had anything to do with the robbery? No, not at all. Nevertheless, both men remained jailed for further investigation. Sometime after the interrogations, Mohammed received a visitor. In detail, he spoke about the robbery and other robberies he committed together with Redouan. Little did he know was that the police was listening in on the conversation. A prosecutor had granted police the right to do so because they wanted to roll up the entire group of robbers. It worked. Several members were arrested, and Redouan, who was already in jail, was eventually prosecuted to 4.5 years in prison. After serving a large part of his sentence, Redouan was eligible for early release. He immediately went back to his old ways, though this time he robbed something else. In early May 2008, Redouan was allegedly involved in stealing a shipment of coke together with Abdel El Fadil and a third unknown man. The coke was stashed by Nerlinio Necker Green in an empty apartment in the Nicolaas Rijhaverstraat in Amsterdam West. The 3 men broke in and took the entire stash of approximately 100 kilos. We all know that ripping someone in the underworld does not go without any repercussions. A year later, on the 4th of October 2009, Abdel was whacked after refusing to pay back Nerlinio. Police also suspected that the reason behind this hit was the stolen coke a year earlier. Back to Redouan. In 2008, he starred in the video clip of his good friend and well-known rapper in the Netherlands, Ali B. By then, Redouan was already known as a big-time criminal. Where his friend Ali was focused on making it as a rapper, Redouan focused on making it as a criminal. Ali did not seem to have a problem featuring his criminal friend in the video. According to several people, the clip also features Najib Ziggy Himish, though opinions vary on whether it's actually him or not. The video clip depicts a wild house party, people partying, drinking, and seemingly having a lot of fun. Throughout the entire clip, there are several shots with Redouan in it. Him sitting next to the featured rapper Shak, where he is dressed in a suit, bobbing his head, and eventually sticking up his middle finger. There are also a few shots of him smoking with big glasses on. However, the most interesting shot is the end scene, in which 5 men are stood next to each other. Redouan is stood in the middle, and while the camera pans out, he gives one more vicious look before the clip ends. At the time of filming this, no one could have imagined the turns and twists Redouan's life would take. September 2008 would mark a change in Redouan's life. Instead of making his money solely through stealing, ripping, and robbing, he ventured into a new part of the underworld. He became a hitman. On the 23rd of September, Hassan Aït Khouda left the house of his parents around 8:15 and walked towards a snack bar called Fibo, located on the Amsterdam East. Shortly after, his brother Mohammed left their parents' house too and walked towards the Fibo as well. All of a sudden, Mohammed heard loud bangs. He realized straight away that they were gunshots. Mohammed ran towards the Fibo and was immediately confronted with an image that he would never forget. His brother Hassan laid on his belly on the cold concrete. In a desperate attempt, he tried to help his brother up, though he quickly realized that it was too late. Witnesses saw 2 men on a red moped flee the scene. People immediately assumed that it was either a mistake or that it had something to do with a conflict in the underworld of Amsterdam. Hassan had been sentenced for smaller violent incidents and other crimes before. However, despite his past, Hassan had turned his life around and became a math teacher at the Tech Amsterdam. People close to Hassan could not believe what had happened. "It has to be a mistake. I can't imagine that someone would want to hurt Hassan," a fellow teacher said. Everybody knew him. He was spontaneous and open, a prime example of a successful integration. A real Amsterdammer without forgetting where he came from, a teacher of Dutch said. He was a real kind and relaxed guy. A teacher who you could count on and laugh with, one of his students said. Well, after further investigation, it was determined that the shooters indeed had the wrong person. Instead of Hassan, they were after his brother Mohammed. Mohammed had gotten into a conflict with his old friend Winnet Martha and his right-hand man Najib Bubu about money he owed. He was not looking to pay and therefore had to be removed off the playing field. Shortly after the hit, rumors started swirling that Najib Bubu recruited Redouan to do the job together with a man named Saïd Amkhoush for 50,000 euros each. In an attempt to solve the hit, police sent an SMS to more than 3,500 people that lived in the neighborhood, hoping that it would result in extra tips. It did, though the case still is not solved till this day. 2 years later, Saïd Amkhoush had only received 30,000 euros from the hit on Hassan. His money was running low, and he wanted to see the rest of his 50,000 euros that he was promised. He started searching for Najib and Redouan. However, he also started running his mouth. Saïd began telling people that he did jobs for them and gladly told about those jobs in detail, something Najib and Redouan were not too happy about. You probably can imagine that this will not end well. On the 12th of February 2010, Najib Ziggy Himish, the same guy who starred in the video clip as well, allegedly lured Saïd to the Flevo Park with the false promise that the money would be paid. Little did Saïd know that it was a setup. Redouan ended his life then and there. Saïd did not stand a chance. It wasn't until the morning after, around 9:30, that Saïd was found in the park by people who were passing by. His family did not believe that his passing had anything to do with the underworld, although the police immediately questioned that and said that it most likely did have something to do with the underworld. According to prosecutors who investigated this case, they suspected Najib of luring Saïd and Redouan of pulling the trigger from behind. By now, Redouan was accused of serious crimes in the underworld. However, the police had yet to arrest him in relation to any of the aforementioned cases. Half a year after the hit on Saïd, Redouan's name would be attached to another hit in the underworld of Amsterdam. This time, it was Clyde de Jesus, a well-known criminal from Amsterdam that played a prominent role. Clyde was a good friend of Boneka Belserang, another notorious man from Amsterdam. Together, they ventured deeper into the underworld of Amsterdam. For years on end, rumors were spread that Clyde himself was also a hitman. If that was the case, he would get a taste of his own medicine on the 4th of August 2010. It was just past 12 in the afternoon when a car approached Clyde as he was stood on the Boulevard. Before Clyde could realize what was about to happen, 2 automatic weapons aimed at him and riddled him with 38 bullets. The shooters weren't taking any risks and wanted to make sure this was Clyde's last day on Earth. There was no trace of the shooters and police were left empty-handed. It was Benaouf A that gave police insight into the hits during an interrogation after he described what he believed had happened and who were involved. Takka and Nafel did him. Takka shot at him and Nafel just kept on firing too. They were acting tough about it. Was Benaouf speaking the truth? Or was he just setting up Redouan and Nafel with complete lies? They were members of the opposing group after all. Either way, it was another hit in the underworld of Amsterdam that was credited to Redouan. If all that is said about Redouan was true, it definitely does not come as a surprise that he made a lot of enemies along the way. His name always rang bells in the underworld of Amsterdam. Regulars on this channel already know this, but in 2012 there was a dispute between 2 groups over a missing shipment of 200 kilos of coke. It was Camp Gwinnett Martha versus Camp Benaouf and Hussein. As this feud was heating up, nobody was safe anymore. Redouan belonged to Camp Gwinnett. He had allegedly already done jobs for him and was given a new one. He had to take out Benaouf A, leader of the opposing camp. The news that Redouan had accepted the job to whack Benaouf caused Benaouf to come up with a plan himself. He wanted Redouan gone before he could get to him. To do so, Benaouf recruited a young man called Rida Benajem. I've made a very interesting video about him too, be sure to watch it after this one as well. Rida was living a life on the run at that point for a robbery he committed on Haas Gold. His money was running low, and he could use the money Benaouf offered him for the hit. On the 22nd of April 2012, Redouan was sat in the Shisha Lounge cafe in Amsterdam. Redouan knew that he could potentially be a target and always walked around with a bulletproof vest and a firearm. While chilling with his friends downstairs of the lounge, Rida calmly walked to the Shisha cafe at around 10 PM. His companion Alexander Gillis stood in the door opening equipped with a firearm to keep all the visitors of the lounge on the ground floor in check. Rida walked down the stairs, straight to his target Redouan, and struck him multiple times. Many people saw it happening right before their eyes and were so shocked they could not do a thing. Rida calmly walked up the stairs and disappeared together with Alexander. Their mission was complete. The description of the suspect that was released right after the hit was a man with a skinny physique with 1.65 to 1.7 meters in height, matching Rida's posture. Police later released CCTV footage of the suspect fleeing. Despite strong suspicion, Rida was never charged for the hit on Redouan because he would be whacked himself on the 16th of March 2013. Redouan was no more and only made it to 31. His vest did not help, and just like that, his lifestyle finally caught up with him. But here comes the most important part of the story. Redouan Boutaka's name holds a lot of weight in the underworld of Amsterdam. Everyone knows about him and his story. He is accused of a lot of things, but at the end of the day, he has never been prosecuted for any hits his name is attached to. A critical question to ask is, was he really the ruthless hitter people made him up to be? Solely looking at the facts, he is not, as he's never been prosecuted for any of the hits attached to his name. It is not uncommon in the underworld to shove crimes into someone else's shoes that's no longer here because they can't defend themselves anymore. Without a doubt, Redouan Boutaka's story will live on forever, and he will always be seen as one of the most notable figures of the Mokro Mafia. As always, thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like, a comment sharing your thoughts, and definitely be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. It only takes a second, and it immensely helps the channel. See you in the next one.